All right. So, hello.
There we are. Look at that.
There we are. So are people seeing us now?
They are indeed. Well, they're seeing.
Okay.
Yeah, they're seeing your moves.
Okay, cool. Nice
Let's make
one.
sure that.
Well, if I put the move down, I can just say a quick hello.
Yep.
Yes, like that.
Yes. It
Hello. Hello there. I am Kareem, and we're very excited to join in the amazing DreamsCom experience and event. To be part of this incredible first virtual in Dream Expo that has really excited us all on so many levels. To see and celebrate all the wonderful community games and creations with such diversity and such range, and then to be part of the Twitch stream event. I am so thrilled with the showcasing Dream as a virtual event maker in a way, and yet another one of Dream's media and superpowers sort of celebrated. But the most important thing really that was very, very exciting is that I was walking around these virtual expo halls, and I really felt like I feel when I go to E3 or when I go to GDC. I really felt that same, I wonder what that thing, that looks cool. I'm gonna go check it out. It was incredible, and such amazing games. Very, very cool. So here we go. I just wanted to say that before we begin. So today, how long do we got, Tom? Just so I can pace myself.
We've got you for a couple of hours.
Okay, good.
So basically, yeah, for an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long.
Nice.
I'll keep you traditionally in check, Kareem.
Okay, cool. You know, it's just good to know so I can sort of like manage myself.
Yeah.
Today I am going to do a sculpture with you guys, and the sculpture is of a bonsai tree. I chose the bonsai tree. Trees are the next thing straight after the human body. The tree is almost the main inhabitants of the planet, really, and we come way after. Like, we don't do as much to the planet as the tree does. You know, the tree does give the planet its oxygen. We take it away. So in a way, the tree is the real superstar. But I also really don't even mean to make an ecological message, but I actually, from a visual aesthetic, I think they are the most profound designs of. They're not. The human being is the most brilliant design in terms of mobility and movement, while the tree is aesthetic thing. So it's rooted. And I chose the bonsai tree because I felt like it is something that is more sort of designer. It's a designer tree in a way. So before I start, I wanted to do the base of the tree, because the interestingly, anytime you do a tree and you want to get on with it, and you don't do the earth in which it sits, it kind of doesn't really work. The tree is so well integrated with the environment that it really needs a little bit of an environment design first. So I will sort of just begin, and I will find one of the splats just to make some. Let's get this sort of grassy one, sort of, yeah. Just to begin myself, to put myself into the mood, and because I find when I make trees, I really need to build the interesting form that it's on, and especially with bonsai trees as well, they are when I was looking, I put together a little bit of reference imagery on my other screen over there, just to keep looking at as well.
I was going to ask what made you sort of land on the idea of doing a bonsai tree in particular.
Recently I was working on a project, and I was doing a tree in it. It wasn't a bonsai one, but it was bonsai kind of looking. And
Oh yes,
yeah, and
yes.
it sort of made me delve into a bunch of techniques that so really I remember thinking to myself that'll make a good stream, actually, because there there's something quite self-contained about a tree. Everybody knows what a tree is. It's a universal object. Like I say, it's honestly unchallenged by anything. I remember when we were making Dream, in year one, in every meeting, when we were talking about any topic, whether we were talking about the developer tools, or we were talking about grouping, or how people will share their creations, you name it. The tree was the example used. It's astonishing. On every single time, Tom, every single time we had a conversation, the example used was the tree.
I am. I've actually one of the interesting points is whenever we've spoken to people about creation in dreams, a tree is one of the things we recommend people just trying out for as their first object as well. Like when we're demoing, like we just say, because they're like obviously they're easy to achieve, like a good looking tree.
You know what it is, Tom? You know what it is? It's forgiving. While a human, so I just turned on, by the way, the impasto to make it a little bit more grass-like. The trees are way more forgiving than the people. When you are embarking on doing people really is the thing that everybody would like to give a try. But the challenge with people is that they aren't forgiving. If you do a person and you do it 85% there, it still kind of disappoints you, because you are still comparing it with your knowledge. And every human being has profound knowledge of people, because we are people. But we aren't. I think if we were trees, we'd be as anxious, I guess. But we because it's kind of like cats or sheep or anything that you don't really have intimate or profound knowledge with, and you start being more general about and more forgiving. If you have a tree surgeon or a tree expert, you will start becoming more, but that tree would never do that and this. But I think I'm just turning off some of the so we have a lot of display settings that are designed to help the users and people to there you go, this one. When you're introduced to Dream, and depending on what you are making, we have a lot of settings for you to try to help that process. And what I switched off now is just the act of, when tunneling, to not go make everything else gray. That is a very, very useful feature when you are doing a complex game experience, for example, and you have so much going on in the scene that you just really need to focus on. For example, if you want to go in your vehicle that is in a city, and you want to tune that vehicle, and not only you want to tune that vehicle, you want to tune that vehicle's control system or something like that, or you want to tune the design of the wing or something. So at that point, you want to send everything back, which is a very reasonable request. While if I am doing just a simpler project where I want to do a piece of art, then suddenly my desire is the opposite. I need to see everything else. So I'm doing a little rock now, and I want it to sit with that piece of grass that it's on. So I need to see the piece of grass. I don't need the piece of grass to be gray, for example. So we have had lots of debates and things of what is the right thing to do, you know, and Dream, if you ask me, the biggest challenge was to try to find the right defaults, because you know, you can never really say what is the right thing without saying for what case, sort of thing. And you know, we found, I like that we chose games as our case study to make Dreams the powerhouse of making, because games are the modern day's most complex media form, really. Games include music, they include art, they include architecture, they include storytelling, they include obstacle course design, they include mood and horror and action and immediate feel. The kind of feel that games require is like almost not equivalent to designing vehicles or designing, you know. So by doing tools that try to tune you or try to make a video game that instantly makes you have philosophical debates about what is the right way of presenting the tool. If we were just making a sculpture tool, for example, the priorities and emphasis would be different than if you want to also make an animation tool. And I think Dream found a very decent intersection between all these very different mediums. Like, you know, it's surprising how different similar mediums can be. You know, you can say like so just made a bit of a tuft of grass and a bit of a rock, and this is basically just a quick setup for me to build my bonsai tree on. While I sort of bore you with my
No, people are definitely not bored, Kareem.
yeah,
not at all. Not at
like I definitely think that the point we were on is such a serious one, where we try to find the ultimate intersection between, you know, like, for example, we heard a lot of conversations about the creative community and people using tools and advanced creator versus beginner creator, and I personally don't really understand the term creator. I'm like, it's kind of, you know, almost profound. I think the more essential term for me is like, for example, if I talk about an architect, it's very different than a level designer. They don't want the same things at all. They have things in common, but they aren't the same creature. And also, a character designer is not a sculptor. A character designer is making a character for a purpose of, for example, a platform game character designer is very different than Degas, for example. You know, while Degas is interested in some aspects of the human movement, the character designer for a platform game is totally interested in an interactive kind of result. When pressing this, you get that, and there definitely are a lot of overlaps between those disciplines, but it's very dangerous to lumber everyone in one sort of arena. So we in developing Dream, we definitely had a lot of these conversations about who is using. A musician is very different than an audio engineer entirely. A lot of audio engineers are musicians because they were interested in music as well, and they developed that too, but not essentially the discipline is the same and the expectation of the tools. So I'm very proud of Dream, really, because it managed to come through its development story and talk to these different audience, different mindsets, different priorities, and still be very capable of satisfying them in their speciality, but also it talks to the holistic in us all. Like, if you are interested into delving into a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you can as well. Not a lot of tools pull that off. Like, you have, for example, tools that are very good for the specialist but not the generalist, and or the other way around. And I think, like, we went for the impossible aspiration of trying to hit the two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, one of the things I love that Dreams has done is it's like taking that idea of generalists and specialists, like it's created specialists out of generalists, and and people that would have never considered themselves, I know, like a composer, because they've sort of found it, like, because Dreams is so easy to like stumble upon something.
Yes.
Like you'd be like, okay, cool, well I'll try that out, and like things like that. Like it's so brilliant to see people in the community like shifting, like the artists in the community are now starting to become game designers, and it's just that's one of the coolest things I think about the whole thing.
It's a very good observation, Tom, because like in the 15th century, for example, when you study the life of someone like Da Vinci or Michelangelo, and you go, the guy was a sculptor, an architect, a poet, sometimes a politician as well. Like someone like Rubens was also a politician as well as an amazing artist, designer, a jewelry designer, so in a way, human beings figured that out a long time ago, that we don't really need to be pigeonholed into one small cog specialization. I think efficiency and economics forced that rather than human potential, really. Like the human potential can do a lot of things in the same time, but money begs to differ, sort of thing, and likes to sort of group in its own way. I definitely think that a product like Dreams, a project like Dreams, a platform like Dreams allows you to question that. And mixed media, if you are doing your own level, I think about like one of our great designers, for example, Christophe or Steve, when they both have a prototype of a game that they want. No, not a great gadget, but what I'm looking for is the other one. Yeah, the Sky one. Every time Steve and Christophe promote one of their game designs, without exception, they will have audio in it.
Yes.
They will have their ability or their weapon or their thing doing and causing sound, because they have sussed that sound really is quadruples the wow factor of your game. Instantly makes your game real and
Brings
makes
it to life.
and everybody just loves it. They see the little, or if you make a cute little animal and that thing does a sound when it sees you or something like that, it instantly intends. It just basically it's a clever move. It's not only motivated by creativity and artistic diversity. It's promotional as well. I want people to like my game. It needs sound basically. So or I am going to take the time, like I haven't begun making the tree, which is the purpose of this session, because I need to feel good about the setup.
Yeah.
And not because I am procrastinating, because I totally know that the setup is going to save it. I have full faith in these decisions. I know that they will help me later on. So
Yeah.
the same way is applied to the audio or the multidisciplinary point that you were making.
Yeah.
People, yeah, yeah.
No, sorry, go
Sorry.
on. Go on. I don't want to interrupt. I don't
No,
want to
no,
interrupt.
no. That's all. You just I'm in absolute agreement with you. Is that
Yeah.
people go into the multidisciplinary for really good reasons.
Yeah, and I just wanted to touch on something in the chat. Tap Giles and Quietly Wrong mentioned they started in Dreams as Logic, and then they've just gone to do more Logic or something else. Like you've both become people have become teachers in Dreams as
Yeah,
well. Like there's one of it's not just in Dreams. Like we've seen people outside take Dreams outside of Dreams and I don't know, develop a passion for a particular other thing, and teaching is one of those things. Like you guys are
absolutely,
fully fledged teachers, and have
absolutely,
you can see your effect. You can see those kind of people's effects in the Dreamiverse when people have watched a YouTube video or a Twitch stream and learnt a thing. I always look back to Lady Lex in the community put a tutorial out about creating a menu UI, and
yeah,
suddenly there was a bunch of games in the Dreamverse with this particular UI setup, and that's amazing to see how people Tap and Quietly and Jimmy Jules, who's gone on to get a job from his Logic knowledge and stuff, and it's so good to see you guys evolve. So you are more than just Logic creators; you are teachers now, on the same way
absolutely.
that people have become musicians.
It's amazing when you watch in YouTube, for example, how much posts are out there teaching and sharing how to do every single part of the human sort of interest. It's unbelievable the generosity involved, and I think we teach because we not only want to share our findings, but I think it's deeper than that. I think people need to teach. It's exactly like we need to explain. We have a need to understand, and part of our process of understanding is teaching as well as so it's not it's teaching is a complete two-way thing, and it goes back to the what I am doing right now is I am actually figuring it out live, rather than I am doing sharing my what I already know. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I really have no or I know some stuff, but not as much as I or we portray. It's what is more important than this kind of format. I think Dream has allowed us to have a live investigation together, and
Yeah.
everybody expands. They start by being curious about a certain area, and then they made a project or and collaborated, and then learned something, or went on a forum when they were really frustrated about something and they learned, and at that point someone was very cool and helped them out, so they sort of feel that they need to pass it on as well. I think there is, when you really want to learn something and you go on the internet or you go on Dreams or you go on a forum and you find the answer, I think it just makes you a better person instantly. Yeah. Because as soon as you find the thing that you were looking for and it really sorted you out and helped you, then forever you're never gonna forget that. Okay, it's time to begin the tree.
The tree.
Okay, so I made a little base, and I'm gonna start now. So the first thing I sort of do in the sculpture, and that was actually the process that I started in that other thing that I was doing. So I literally do a little cylinder, and the first part of the tree, before you start getting fancy or cool with it, just make a cylinder like that. One of the hardest things in 3D, in my opinion, is 3D thinking, as I must have said before. So a simple tip that helps you in the 3D thinking is, okay, we all get what a cylinder is. This is a cylinder, and it's placed on top of this rock formation. First thing that was very important was the rock formation itself. If you don't want to take the time and do one, you can find a bunch of community-made rocks and things. In fact, before I did this, I was looking in community-made rocks and grass and floors, and my mind was so blown that I was like, man, I can't just use this. This is so good. I can't create anything in the session that is as good as that rock. So I'm not going to do that. But honestly, I was really impressed. But here's a tip for 3D. So I put a cylinder here, and it's not that big, it's just a small one. And then I go to the clone tool and I clone it within the clone tool within sculpture, not the clone in assembly. And I take a copy of that cylinder, and then I turn myself around. In the move scheme, turning yourself around means that you press the move button and you grab a point in space and you turn around. But I sort of turn myself around, and then I copy it like that. And then I'm like, okay, I examine my decision and do another one. So what I'm just doing here is what 3D thinking is that you can never, ever, ever do a good 3D design and not move the camera around. Just forget it, because one view is one view. That it defines what it actually is. One view is, but there are certain games that, for example, if you're making a painting or if you're making a picture, then it's biasing to one angle is a reasonable thing. Like if I'm only seeing this forever from that angle, fair enough. Then return to that angle often. In fact, why don't I even prove that concept? But if I put a camera, for example, and we go like here, the camera, our finale camera is this angle, fine, then you could bias towards that. But I would argue and say, even if you want to bias to a camera, as a more successful 3D design will still look better from one viewpoint, because it will have better shadows, sort of thing. So even that requires turning around, like what I'm doing now. So basically, then I make another cylinder. I'm still inside that sculpture. I'll make it a bit longer. So I'm basically what I'm doing now is that I'm just literally designing the general bulk. Usually trees are a little bit chunkier at the bottom, so let me make that cylinder. And I'm not caring at all at this point about the flow of it. Literally, it's like a pipe work at the moment. We don't care at all. It's still that it's tree-like, just general. Yeah.
If we
And
have
then,
depending on how much progress we make on
yeah.
this day, Zypher in the chat would love some tips on lighting a scene.
Okay. Oh wow. Yeah,
So we'll
yeah,
see how you go.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
originally
No,
going to have a stream about lighting a while back
I
with John
love.
Eckersley,
Yeah,
who was going to cover the lighting off in the band, the band scene at the end of Art
yeah,
Stream,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
fantastic sequence.
My,
But unfortunately, obviously,
John
makes it
is
trickier.
John is
Uh,
a monster in lighting. He really is. He basically very much carefully designs his light rig pretty early on in his process, uh, and it's a very smart thing to do the drama uh, before. Uh, because it sort of just helps you, kind of informs the mood. If you know that you are trying to go for a poetic kind of lonely tree, or are you doing something like a cartoony tree that is like in a animation style, or are you doing, see, all I'm doing, by the way, here is that I am just turning around all the time. So I turned around right now and I saw this angle and it doesn't look good. This angle looks good, this angle looks lame. So basically, and in one of the things that is very good in nature, I think, even the definition of what looks good, why do we say it looks good and it doesn't look good, I think comes from nature, because nature basically is quite balanced. Like, stuff in nature rarely is designed to not have a good function. So usually in trees, if they are very weighted in one direction, they will fall. And sometimes when a storm happens or something, or some unnatural event allows a tree to sort of grow in one direction and not another, then eventually it could fall. So we devise our definition of good aesthetics from actually practical and functionality of nature. But the nearest thing for art to try to copy that is, you turn around and you kind of ensure that we invented a term we call composition. But really, what composition truly means is success, and in all viewpoints, and uh, uh, and what defines a sort of good aesthetic. Even, why do we think cute? What is cute? When we say, oh, it's very cute, and it comes from nature again. The young creatures have a certain kind of passiveness in order for them to survive in nature, and so these attributes became associated with appealing sort of thing, and then we started liking them, and then you kind of go like, just granted that if a character has big eyes, then it's so cute. But why is that? Because we're so used to babies having big eyes, and it's a fluke of nature. Like, we have big eyes because the eyes are the one organ in the body that doesn't grow. It just, you're born with the size of the eyeballs that you live with for all your life. The bit that grows is the skull around it. So that's why baby eyes are mega, it's, huge. And I don't know. There must be some medical reason or something that I actually do not know. But my point here is that what we decide is aesthetically beautiful is actually not based on subjective thinking. It's based on nature. Nature has, like, another example, when you look at a sunset or you look at the sky, and we go, oh man, look at all the cars, it's so beautiful, it's so, and again, it's very unlikely that it will have bad joinery, like a color delivers to the other in a way that is dictated by reflection and clouds, and clouds again are this other thing that has like a lot of reason that it's the way it is. Very rarely, you get bad design in human made stuff because it ends sooner than it needs to end, or it begins sooner than it needs to begin, and instantly your mind is like, oh man, that door is suffocated, like it needed some space between the end of the door and the ceiling. While you rarely get that with a tree, because the root needs to turn in that angle in order to exist in the first place.
Yeah.
I went off on one, but I genuinely dig that stuff. Like, I really do.
You're more than welcome to go off on one whenever you want, Kareem. Like,
so basically,
what I love your insight.
What I did, thank you, sir, thank you. No, what I'm doing while I'm sort of like rambling away is basically what I began with that cylinder, and I was sort of copying that cylinder, and copying the cylinder it's a bite size, it's chunk, pretty doable, and not horribly out of control, like one by one. It's not too hard to do. And it allows, I'm still basically what I call this is designing the tree, sort of thing. But I have, in order for me to not be too artificial, I always have a bunch of pictures beside me to remind me, like, what the tree is. Now I'm just doing the roots again, just with that one cylinder. And going back to Dream for a second, and why I still think that the sculpture in Dream is great for that. It does have its shortcomings, but I like shapes are the building block of nature. Like, who would think that a complex bonsai tree can be made out of cylinders? You'd think cylinders would lend themselves more to pipe work or something, but the level of organicness of a tree is. But see, I just take one cylinder here, clone it again, and taper, tilt it a bit here and tilt it a bit there, and then it's not a cylinder anymore. It's more complex. So never the layering of decisions really give Dream its. Of course, if we were limited by number of objects, for example, if I remember when we were working together with our wonderful engine team, Alex, Simon, and Mark, and we were pushing the sculpture and looking at it. There was a point where we there was a battle between number of edits. You can have, like, each one of those things here is called an edit, by the way, because if I undo, each one of those operations, the system is remembering as what we call an edit. And what gets saved in Dreams and shared across the wire is what we call the edit history. So it really matters, like, if a tree is made out of like 5 edits, or if a tree is made out of 5,000. And it was very important for me. It was game over for me if we couldn't have zillions of edits, basically. Because I not only because I am, it's quite it's quite associated with artists in digital that we are greedy, and we want more And I want to say something. Yes, it is true, because but we aren't
Confirmed.
we aren't greedy in a sort of gluttonous way. We are in a sensitive way. Like, here's an example just to show you what I mean. So now I've put cylinder, cylinder, cylinder. I go to cut, and then I change gear and I start shaving or doing different little cuts on this bottom part here, and then I go back to another shape entirely, and I make it an ellipse, and then I go to a soft blend, and I change gear now into I want to lose that feel of cylinders that we had now. I want to now almost melt it all into as if I am covering it with water, if it's clay. Now, would you like me to stop now, or shall I continue?
Oh, Kareem, keep going. You've got ages.
And that is what I mean by more. That is the point I'm trying to make, Tom, is that we don't. One does never want more because for the sake of more. One wants more because more needs to be done, sort of thing. It's not. I'm not out of choice of decisions yet, right? Yeah. I don't want the system to tell me there's a long debate that limitations is good for creativity, and some people like that. I don't. I like to go. I've run out of knowledge now, but I don't want the system. Yeah, I want to stop when I want to stop. I don't want to stop when the system tells me stop now, because it makes me very sad, because all I'm thinking is, like, if the system tells me, like, stop now, all what's going on in my head, but I still have more knowledge. So basically, I have to conclude that I am better than the system. I know more than the system allows me to do. While oil paint, for example, doesn't do that to you, or a piano doesn't do that to you. Your knowledge ends before its ability to deliver. So, that's always a sign of a tool that will stand the test of time. But if you can ace a tool, then you're bigger than the tool.
Very true, very true.
Like, guitars and stuff have been with us for how long? You love the guitar, Tom, and like, every era brings us new guitarists that do stuff with the instrument that hasn't been done, Yes. And you go like, how is that possible? After Jamie and after all the people,
Yeah. And then, you strive for that.
You can't have an instrument that tells you no.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
There isn't, like, I think, and that, I mean, to like bring it to like dreams again. Like, we're constantly seeing, like, it's one of the things I always love saying is, like, you'd expect us at Media Molecule to know what the game can do.
Yeah.
Right, like, and we don't. Like case in point, like, some of the stuff we've seen, like, this week at DreamsCom and stuff, is just like, we've been like, oh my goodness. Yeah. Like, of course, like when Dreams started development, I'm pretty confident in saying none of you really expected to be able to put on, like, a games expo.
No,
in the game,
absolutely,
right?
No.
And if
that's amazing.
And if someone had gone, oh no, probably not, then because no one can really say no, you can't do it until it's actually proved that you can't do it. But
that I think a lot of the time when people ask or when people say, did you ever expect everything that people will do, I kind of go, what a strange question, because it's kind of saying, do you have because we know English, do you expect everything that anybody will say? You know, we only made a language, but we didn't make people. So what people say in that language is only down to them. And if you know everybody on earth except one remaining person, you still will not be able to predict what they will do. Because that's the but what is more even weirder, like you said, even the generalization of genre, like we were like, okay, we're making a media tool, surely people will make games in all genres, surely people will make animation, but as you said, which is a very good example, we've never ever had a conversation going, when people make a game expo, here is what the problems will, we just never had that case study in mind, because that's related to Abby and you. That came because of you guys had that idea, and the community, and also the world events as well, that forced us to think, or I wouldn't say forced, but like encouraged or
Forced
inspired,
us,
or
And
so
that's the other thing. Is that's the other thing with, I guess, with the limits. Like, until you're put in a situation where you're like, I think forced is a negative word, but I think it's probably the best case. Like, until you're forced to think a different way, then you start to uncover that you can do more stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I can do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with dreams. Like, you push yourself, and like with art, like with any creative thing, like push yourself, and you'd be like, oh, I can do it. And there's nothing better than the sense of satisfaction of being like, I can do this. Like, but like, we keep going back to it, but like this week, like after the live stream happened and the show floor opened, like we all just went, oh, we did it. We did it, and that was awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's I really think as well that one of the things that is very cool about what you did in the expo is that, and I think Dream encourages that, is that kind of risk-taking cult vibe, where you don't have necessarily got all the answers to all the problems that might occur or not before you embark on doing something, or else you never do anything at all. Like, that's kind of like, of course, historically in the digital medium, because everything is so expensive and requires so much expertise, so people needed to have guarantees that things are going to work out before you throw development at something, right? I do not like that concept at all, because that is that's kind of like saying guarantee that your song is a hit before you even play that guitar, sort of thing. It's like, man, what pressure, and suddenly, you decrease the amount of things that are gonna be made, because it's just like it, and you need a lot of expertise, you need a lot of experts who try to predict, oh no, that's not gonna work, give up now, or but what I like is that you came up with that idea yourself, and Abby, and you began, and Jamie, and you began. There's something really cool about, and then you started, okay, we give our wonderful community a cool spec, let's start by the booth, here is the dimension, let's give some spec, go, and we learn more as we go. We then can realize suddenly, oh, how are we going to go back and forth between the demos when we go in a booth, and then we want to play a game demo and come back in the same environment. Okay, that is a specific case problem now presented by the act of doing.
Yeah.
And then you can go, okay, we're going to do it like that, or we're going to hack it, or we're going to ask for a new feature next time, or whatever. But you did it. The problems become unspeculative and unacademic. They become real, based on a true story. And with case studies, man, is just the most important word in all creativity. Because if you were just academically in a meeting room talking about what people might do and what people might want and what people would have preferred, these conversations suck, because they just make you try to assume. I really dislike it when someone tells me people. I'm like, which people are you talking about? But how many booths did you have in this project?
We had around, I think it was around 330, 350.
Wow.
Which is a lot. Like we obviously, when we put it out, we were like, oh, we'll get like a few. Like we'll get we were expecting, like, obviously we weren't expecting like just two, but we knew, like, but I think the amount and the quality, like, it's just everyone did something different with their booth. Every booth that we saw was like brilliant, like, and really spoke to the creators' personalities or the stuff they want to showcase. It was just mind blowing, and like that even that itself was like, okay, cool. We've taken lessons from that.
Absolutely.
But like we've got ideas of how we can make that process better, like how you can submit ideas to us better, and like by the act of doing, we've learned
absolutely
so much.
You develop the brief, and everybody and also in the act of doing, the project gets a life of its own. I think next time you do it, you begin from that point and then you proceed further and further and further, and definitely the next expo you will learn yet another set of things from the new thing. So I think, like, in terms of the role Dream plays in this exercise, is that it definitely helped you be courageous. Imagine if we did not have Dream and we were wanting to do a virtual expo, using whatever is out there,
Yeah.
It would be a way more "are you mad" kind of project, kind of thing.
Yeah, we get to just be mad at, like, no, it's our thing, so we can be as mad as we want.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
and
I think that's the other thing, is like the way we've done it. Like, we've done DreamsCom within, like, the same game that we've done DreamsCom in is the same game everyone can play at home. Like, and we're only going to evolve the game for everyone. Like, there isn't anything like that in Dreams that can't be done, that couldn't, like, obviously we have a whole team that worked on it, and like that's amazing, but like there theoretically isn't anything in DreamsCom, as far as I'm aware, that someone else couldn't do.
No.
Like, and that's and like, we're all learning Dreams at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, that's really cool.
And to use it in that way, sort of for that sort of event, like when we were talking about dissolving the sort of barrier between creation and curation, and throwing an expo operation in the real world involves people like yourself and Abby, who are a community and event and understand a lot of parameters. And then you'd normally be working with, like, interior designers, companies, and showrooms and that sort of thing. Moving it to the virtual within Dream instantly sort of like is a use case of Dream that is very different than using it to make a platformer or using it to make a tree like I am using now. It's just a completely different set of tools. But again, we are in a time now where the investigation and social communities that are growing, learning, investing, and creating their following and all that is not just blue sky talk. This is actually our time. So it's the multidisciplinary nature of Dream and applying it in everything. Remember when we did the live concert as well, when the guys went and they were playing our audio and game tools. I bet you anything, if Dream was only a music tool or an audio tool, it would have never allowed for that thing to happen. But because it was a game tool as well, and games require certain set of tools and live, and then because we also are a visual tool, so things come together and create memes. But if you develop this kind of expo, what is to prevent the next expo to be about space or biology or something like topical, the environment or whatever. It's a virtual event in Dreams about X, sort of thing. And then someone combines that with some cool tech made, and then it starts becoming, you can do live shows inside these expos as well. So Bogdan can do an algorave in one of the expos. And you start multiplying disciplines with each other and birthing new disciplines as well. That excites me tremendously.
Yeah, and we've definitely got a bunch of ideas that we're noodling over.
Oh, very good.
Which will be really exciting.
Amazing. I think the hard thing, as you must know and would have known, as well as the just do it mentality that you've just done, pulling this expo off, is that you start realizing as well that the devil is in the execution as well. So in a way, you can have great idea, but then in the very specific implementation of it lies a big chunk of why it's a success or not, sort of thing. I like that humbling factor as well. The fact that I'm using Dream and all the tech of Dream still doesn't guarantee that this tree is going to be any good. There is a point where we have to do if you look at the amount of decisions per minute that are going on here, these are a lot of decisions happening, and in any event, from your event to a game, it's a lot of decisions, and these decisions could be good, and these decisions could be not great, and there's a lot in that as well. You could have the same expo idea and it just didn't work because the vibes. But you always tell me, and Abby always tells me, everybody was so lovely and all the people were so cooperative and everybody's ideas are fantastic. All that are multipliers, are great multipliers.
Like everyone is just the loveliest. This week has been an absolute testament to the Dreams community. This week's all about you guys and the amount of support and love, and I love seeing everyone interact with each other and just support everyone. And everyone was saying on the stream on Tuesday, the comments were just people being like, "Oh my god, they look so good! Oh good!" And people recognizing names and all sorts. It's just been, our hearts are incredibly full for everyone that supports Dreams. So thank you. Thank you to everyone.
That was amazing. And do we have Were people taking videos of their journeys in the expo store?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things is people finding like their booths or like sharing their favorite ones. Like some of the booths are all have like photo opportunities. So like you can take a pig. There's a pig in the pig detective booth. You can take a pig detective picture, or you can. There's
Wow.
someone created a booth that you can have your photo taken with Connie and Cuthbert,
Oh my
and
God.
and like people sharing those images, like it's been so cool. And it's just one of those things that at the time we were like, we just didn't think of it. Um, and
See,
like it happened. It's like, oh yeah,
that's the good. See, what you're talking about now is exactly the difference between what the academic concept of doing an in-game expo and the actual real experience of having done it. You know, we'd never expect these specific examples and these specific stories unless you know you did it. And and where are they? Are they all going up on the worldwide?
yeah, on Twitter. So like, if you just search the hashtag for, but I'll share some images with you, Kareem,
Oh, brilliant,
and
brilliant,
the rest of the
brilliant.
team because we're going to do a big old rundown of all the reactions and everything. But yeah, like just searching the hashtag DreamsCom20 has just been so much fun.
Amazing. We must make a compilation of our favorite moments and
Yes.
composite that.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
you know once a lot of especially you know to record and like an album, really a photo album of the event.
yeah, we've got some ideas on how we want to like wrap it up. Like Dreams, like the show actually itself will never end. Like there
Yeah.
won't be an end to it. You'll always be able to play it in Dreams. But we're thinking of the best ways to sort of like wrap it up. Like put an end a full stop on it for this year. Um,
Yeah.
but like the show floor's not going anywhere, so people will hopefully be playing the show floor for months and years. Like it's never, and then they'll just find next year they'll find DreamsCon21 show floor. But yeah, it'd be really good to just sort of review it all and see people's reactions, and yeah, just fantastic.
Yeah. So one of the features. So basically, I went from the cylinders that we were looking at, and slowly kept copying the cylinders around and around, and then after that, I changed gear into the soft blend, where I sort of melt it all into more organic shapes and add and carve as I go. Now, the next step after that, which takes it to the next level of complexity, see, I keep turning around over and over, and just anything that just looks unnatural or not cool, I just cut it out and turn it into a opportunity. I think one of the things as well that I must have said like a million times, like a broken record, is the mistakes, the concept of mistakes, and like you know, I don't. Messing up is so brutal. Like, see, I made an edit here, and then I didn't realize, and it gave me an extra protrusion there. So I'm like, shall I delete that? No, I just go here and cut it. But now that I'm cutting it, an extra cut happens that was never gonna happen before. That little thing. Now, is it the most beautiful thing in the universe? Not especially, but it is an unplanned event. And what basically I consider mistakes is opportunities for unplanned events. Like, so don't over think. I don't like undo. I like cut, because cut is an addition, it's not a subtraction, it's a new mark, while undo is eradicating a decision, eradicating it from the face of earth. I use undo in the digital world, but I use it for uh, absolute, yeah, no, and it does have a place. I'm not going to just for the sake of the point, to sort of eradicate its existence. It has its place, and sometimes only undo is the way forward. But in sculpture, because sculpture is kind of a layered process, so sometimes it benefits, like this little thing that is coming out here. Okay, I'm just gonna cut it like that, and then you get like nice extended formations. So take your time with this sort of thing, and keep turning around and around, and see, this is what I mean by 3D. 3D is basically the act of making this really, really successful in all angles. And how do we know what successful means or is? Nature. Nature is already dictated us subliminally and subconsciously. We have a whole, when you look at a cheetah or something and you see like how aerodynamic they are and how incredible their bodies are, it's like designed for running, and nothing is there not for a reason, that is like really speeding that creature up. So, so of course your eye starts associating subliminally that these shapes are related to speed. So then we try to sort of design a robot or something, and we find ourselves stealing solutions from birds, or stealing solutions from cheetahs, or stealing, because that's, it's not an absurd sort of mental model. Sort of thing. So we went from sort of cylinders, and now our tree is starting to get more and more and more organic. A technique that I really like to share with you, that you must have seen or not, but I will show you. It's lovely. You go to the curve tool, and then you use the smear. So now I'm in smear. It will do a sort of stroke like that, and that, by the way, is different than if I am in sphere and I'm smearing as well. See all these ridges? This is basically because the system is doing sphere. It's doing a lot of spheres, while this tech is different tech. Basically, it's kind of like it's running a sphere on a spline on the underlying tech, so it doesn't have sphere to it. So it's nicer looking. And then if I go and turn on the surface snap, I can then start doing on the tree ridges like that. Now this is very bonsai tree-like, but it's very labor intensive, because now you want to go and follow the contour of the tree and just keep doing. It's good for things like hair. It's good for things like tree. I don't know what's the term, but in the tree bark or stem, or you look at them and you have these kind of like never-ending panels and or ridges, but the lovely experience to do. I won't go crazy, but I will do it for a while, just because I think if you ever want to remember anything from all the things that I'm saying, it's that particular one, is never leave a stage until you want to leave. No, because I think demoing especially is a weird concept, because we're trying to do something with the purpose of entertaining you guys, demonstrating, teaching, whatever you want to call it. But the saddest truth is that if I actually leave this concept before it reaches the point that it needs to reach, then nobody has benefited. But there comes a point where the point is made, and you can start, because like in 3D, the biggest player in 3D that confirms that a decision is good. See, I did some undos now because they were corrupt decisions. Like basically the surface snap did not at all do what I want. So I will go, no, I don't want you here,
No.
sort of thing. No. Yeah, but not. It's not no. I could still spin it, I guess, but you know, sometimes you just don't be stubborn with your concept. Like, you know, I don't want just to prove the point, you know, to just shoot myself in the foot. But look. Here is the point. Like, so now I've done it enough. Look at the light. The light is playing with the forms now and creating nice looking light, right? That's what you want in sculpture. Sculpture is all about the light. So if you start seeing the light behaving in ways that are looking good, and again I define good by reminds us of something from nature. That's all we got as human beings. Is even when someone designs the most weird alien in some film and you go, oh man, it's out of this world, actually it isn't. It's a combination of insects and fish and microorganisms and things that we've still recycled. So light in this case is the player. I keep sculpting till light is starting to make me excited. Like, I'm like, oh man, yeah, that's cool. I like how the light is behaving. Yeah. I start feeling that okay, I must be doing something right, because the you know, it can never light. It's almost light is cannot lie. You know, again, like if you're, because light is a confirmation that I am successful 3D wise. You know. Because light is also travels in a weird, even engine light, which is because engine light, when Simon and these guys and Mark and Alex write their light algorithms, they basically devise it all from math, and math is actually a type of nature, really. So in a way, the way that light is behaving is going to not just hit this part and then stop suddenly. You know, if you want light to stop, you have to stop it by a lot of artificial things, like, you know, put things in its way or obstruct it. But if you don't, then it's traveling. So if the light looks at my tree and travels on it in a way that is nicely flowing and pretty, then you know that, okay, this is going to succeed in multiple angles. Look, you know, I'm turning around and I know that it's working. So this is cool times. So this here, what I'm doing now, if we were to have the full time, I would spend maybe 3 hours or something, literally going around the whole tree with that technique. Because and the killer point, again, I'll do it a little bit more so you can see. So the killer is never to suddenly do some weird transitions. Like, I can't go like from here and then go, I'm gonna go back there now. It's like, what? No, this cannot happen, this weird S shape. It's just not right. But what is nicer is that this happens and then this happens here. So it's like, you know, even though I have no scientific reason that this is but it's an accumulation of looking at stuff and all that. So, and then you know, okay, we turn around and then we turn around here and then we turn around back and turn this way. Like muscles, you know, trees are a bit like, you know, if you look at your shoulder muscle or something, they wrap around and around. Nothing is so by doing the foot. See this, I made, like, here is another error where the surface sort of snap to something far away. So that warrants a delete, for example. That is for me the cases for, okay, I'm going to use an undo or use a delete, but fine, that's not something I can make use of artistically, sort of thing at all. Like, I just don't want you. But
And that's why, yeah.
that's where I think, okay, delete, undo, whatever, fair enough. But see, here we go, keep on going. And even though, like, for example, the technique that I am demonstrating is the same one like that I demonstrated when I began. But using a technique for 5 minutes is one thing, but using it for half an hour is another, and then using it until you get to the junctures, like what goes on here, that's another league, because sometimes you get to these situations and you go, that's why in trees you have these knots things, whatever they call them, these bits of where Woody Woodpecker lives and stuff, these sort of almost weird junctures of branches create the most problems in art, but also in nature. And these are sometimes where I personally find myself going back to the internet and going, actually, what happens in these junctures? I have no idea. Okay, time to do some Google or so, and then you jump back into the internet and you find out how branches deliver to one another, and then you learn something, a tiny little bit of extra knowledge that stays with you forever. So I always suggest to people, by the way, when you're doing your references and mood boards, don't overdo it. Just do enough to begin, and then while you work, when you get to a very specific problem like the example we give here, go back and find amendments to your mood board that are very tailored and specific to this particular problems. But I am demonstrating to you how this technique really starts getting challenged when it reaches areas like that you want, and then you start having fun. You start going like, okay, I'm just going to take artistic liberties. I'll go this way, and then I'll go that way, and then in the middle here I'll make one of those sort of roundy spiral things, so because I've seen it once somewhere, so it's like it must be based on something, like, you allow yourself to or if you want to suddenly be if we were doing some fantasy type movie, a creature, old person in the tree, then you start merging any knowledge you have on hair with any knowledge you have on the tree bark kind of stuff. And you mix them both together and they both sort of flow nice. So the human hair has a lot in common with the flow in nature. Again, it doesn't very rare. It unless you are sort of like properly interfering with the nature. But like here we go. So we spend a bit of time with that technique, and you get so much more out of it than if you just like spend 2 seconds kind of thing. After I do these sort of techniques, again, I like to go back. So always remember to switch off Surface Snap, because I always forget to do that. So now that we've done this thing evenly, I personally don't like it when it's over even. So I go back and I go with the soft blend and I basically reduce it in some areas, like just basically, so it's not crazy even. A detail is absolutely the same in every part. You just chill it out in some parts, and of course it's even nicer if you chill it out logically. If you have a piece of knowledge that that I actually don't, that explains why these ridges or happens in nature, then you can reduce it again in where it would be reduced. For example, if it tends to happen more close to the base or something real. I think the more you know of these things and the more you apply them in your art, it just adds so much layer to it. So there we go. We've done another level of detail to our tree. And then I will now sort of, just to change gear a bit, I'll go to my paint tool and do some foliage. I'll do the foliage in a sort of impressionistic way. So I'll just take a mixture of oranges and greens and sort of grayish green, like that. Get this single stamp fleck, and I sort of there's one of the shortcuts that make it a cluster rather than just one fleck, like that. And then I just like stamp a bunch of them in thin air. Again, turn around. See, even when I'm doing the cluster, I never do it in one angle because I know that it will look flat, as soon as you turn around. So you might as well think of everything like a bowl or a cloud. You just must turn around, ensure that it's a nice, satisfying cluster. And by the way, one of the things that is nice about our paint features is that you can have multiple flecks within the same paint group or paint cluster. So I tend to like to do that because it sort of just makes it more interesting, just different vibe. Okay, so I've got a nice satisfying cluster, and I will tweak it as well, and playtime, do some animation to it, just very simple stuff, like just to make it look like it has a wind sway. Or even there is the wind. If you make it physical, turn the wind on and pick the wind direction, this arrow thing. That's actually cool too, like that. I usually just go into there and keep messing till it looks cool. That will do. Okay, sort of a cluster here, and then just copy it. Keep copying. Sometimes I before I do the secondary branches, I do the foliage, because I want to get a nice bulk first, and then I sort of fill in the branches rather than get over obsessed with the branches and then do the foliage last. Although that is a bit not how it works in nature, but you're cheating, So
you
I'm turning
the rules of nature.
Yeah, you try. I think the more you know, like John Beach, for example, always blows my mind in the stuff he knows. About how rust forms and what it would tend to do, and because John worked in the building world for a long time, so he was in real scenarios all the time. So he just knew how things decay and how if you don't do that happens, and water, and water, they always say, is the enemy of construction, and if it finds a weakness, it will do this and do that. So naturally, if you are a talented person like John, who's just curious and interested in everything, he keeps learning. So he always tells me crazy stuff about how it all works. And
the amount of just knowledge he comes out with, whenever you're just like, what?
John Beach is I'm a fan of John Beach.
If there's ever anything that I just some peculiar question, I wonder if John knows, and he tends to know.
Yeah, he tends to know, and he's so humble, annoyingly humble. No, he's so cool. He's so cool. John Beach is a dear friend as well. But I think as well, I think never lost his curiosity. Like, I think it's a very cool. See how much I'm turning, Tom? Like, it's
Yeah.
honestly, I can't emphasize how important, because at least because I'm doing that, if we are in a game or something, we're coming towards the tree from this way, we know that it's gonna be successful, because as we work, we keep turning, and making sure that the angles are working in all fronts. And going back to the person who was asking about lighting, I'll do you some lighting in a second. In the end, we will, but I think we will have more fun with the light because of this kind of 3D thinking, because we took the time to sort of turn around the object enough to ensure that see, like, why do I need, for example, now to do these kind of things that I'm doing right now, even though the project is a tree? Because some part of me predicts that in the future it will be handy. I genuinely don't know why, but it's subconsciously I came from this angle. I'm like, too much. We need a bit of floor here, and because if we're going to in the end try to frame it and make it look like a nice scene. And you want to stick some lights. The light needs something to follow on. Light just doesn't exist on its own in space. It needs surfaces, and it needs to fall on stuff, and Okay, one of the techniques that Martin, my good friend from the community of Dreams, that we got to know, Martin, superstar of Dream, and
Martin Nebelong, yeah.
Oh yeah, and he does some of the most amazing celebrations of Dream potential. We talk all the time about tools and philosophies of creation, and Martin does a brilliant technique where he will take a exact copy of your tree that you've done, and then he will mess with it. So he'll sort of, we'll make it. I learned that from you, Martin.
Shout out to Martin Nebelong, who has just actually on that point. We've worked with him recently to create a video for the UN environmental program.
Oh my god!
Which is really cool. Which is like a 360 video. So if you go to our Twitter and check that out, because that's a really cool project. And just another notch on Martin's awesome work and what Dreams can be used for.
My god! No. See, so basically, I changed the fleck. Let's pick another fleck, for example, this circly one. Apply it, loosen the thing completely, so it's a looser version, and then we impasto it. The impasto basically means make it even fluffier, sort of thing, and then even reduce this greenness to a bit more sort of subdued, a bit more. A lot. No, here it is. And then you sort of tuck it inside the original one in a way that it's quite a good technique for snow or moss or something that you want to have wrap on the surface, so as if there is moss that is growing, and it's just free, because it rather than doing another round of creating over the surface, you just benefit from having the same form, and it can be used for moss, or it could be used for things like snow or something like that. I quite like it. Hold on, and then not red, no, just want it a bit darker. And then after you put it reasonably in an angle that not trying to just get the color. Yeah, that will do. And put it like that. Keep moving it till you feel cool. Yeah, that's one of Martin's techniques, and then you can go in with your cut tool and lose it from any unwanted area if you kind of mostly like it everywhere, but then it's too much in a certain area. Then you can go, okay, I'm just going to lose it from this section, and so again, it's another thing that you just can spend quite a while removing. So instead of going all over the tree again and drawing your moss on it, you just get the copy of the tree, repurpose it, change its style and finish, and even the finish actually is not a bad point. Like I can go in that model and change the finish of it and make it respond to light differently. So that part is more shiny, not that shiny because that's kind of, but just if we go to the it's too shiny, so I'm just gonna reduce it a bit. It's nice, a bit of shiny is nice. And then in here the original one as well needs to be a bit darkened, and then I will sort of I can hear my children outside sort of causing havoc. Like,
the joys of streaming from home.
No, it's cool.
It's great.
Man.
It's lovely. Yeah,
it's good. I definitely in the beginning of all this, I was like, this is gonna be crazy, but it's actually a blessing. My heart is for everyone who's had a hard time, but I mean, like, spending a bit extra time with the little monkeys in a quite a nice age, and that they always say these ages pass fast and stuff, and it's all right, so it's quite cool. I'm grateful. So we made that copy here, and then let's do a little bit of light before we can sort of finish up. So one of the things that we start with in the lighting, and before I light, I just I have a need to do a landmark. I'm always aware that we need things that will catch the light, so it's a little bit less boring. Okay, and extend the scene as a little bit so we have something to fade. Okay, right now let's say, okay, let's have a look.
Kareem, a question from Anderson in the chat. What do you think about changing the default lighting? I tend to edit it and then realize it's difficult to have control about color and light.
Basically what we have, we've got the studio lighting, and the studio lighting, as soon as you click it gives you a very, very neutral light. So for example, and when you are especially going quite theatrical, then I'd recommend the studio lighting. But as well as the studio lighting, you've got this other thing, I don't know if you know this thing here, which is called style and effect. If you untick that, it removes any tinting or styling that you've applied in your scene. See, so that's like with and without. So again, it's not really lighting, but if your scene is so full of tinted stuff, then it clarifies as well. So I would say go to studio lighting if you really need neutral light to make some sculptural decisions. It's the best we got, like at the moment, in terms of.
Yeah.
It works. No, so for example, the different moods and looks that we can get from this one tree. Start like just you take a bunch of spotlights like this. And you know, if I'm going to put spotlights on a tree, I try to make them also correspond to the first, if the main sun is in this direction, and we say let's make it a moody night one. So I'm gonna sort of make it more cold and strengthen, and we say we darken the sky like this, make it a nighttime, and add the extra accent lights like that, and then straight. So we're going for a nighttime thing, and now we want to sort of see how can we help that sculpture kind of sing. So, but in the same. So the first fake thing to do, which is like, okay, the main direction of light, let's say, is kind of coming from the front, and you can always know the direction of the light from, you know, the shadow. And then we go, okay, we're going to give some assistance to this main light, but of course, if I do the assistant that obvious, it looks like, okay, someone has put a spotlight here. So you try to make them not too obvious. Sort of thing, but in the same time you can have a lot of them that go in the direction of the main light first. So okay, it's like, I want to catch this branch, so I go in here and add another one, and add the top. So I want sort of the light to fall on this side of the tree as well, and inside the light settings I sort of opened the angle as much as possible and softened the shadow fall off here, and then sort of move. You always want dark bits and light bits to give you nice volume. If the whole thing is bleached, then you know you stop getting good look. Like if I put it in the middle here, that's nice. It's like catching this bit here and catching this bit there and giving me some reading on the stem. And then okay, if the event, for example, is happening, our hero goes and sits there in their shot, and we want that to be our moment, so we start serving that. And then I tend to sometimes, like, if you want to, so we've done that. That's kind of almost like what we could call the main light. Second thing to do to mood it up, so because one of the things that you really want to try to do in any art that you're doing is that you want to suspend. You don't want people to go, that's a 3D model made in Dream. You want people to forget about all this and just really get engaged with the moment. So how you do, one of the things that I like to do is fade anything that needs to not attract the attention. So I get some fog as well, and then sort of stick it in the edge of the scene to try to also help me resolve. We have in the fog, we have the different shapes. Sort of take one of those shapes, the square one, and tweak it, extend. It's these kind of fadey things that you do to your scene are actually they're nice because they take the attention away from the edge and back to my moment, you know, sort of thing. So I'm gonna sort of just stick some edge resolving, go back again to my lights. So that's too low. I sort of put them quite low, raise them up.
Kareem, a really cool question from Wargarble in the chat. Do you get any inspiration from your actual dreams? And what do you think about the general idea of dreaming?
Oh,
so
wow.
when you, I mean, that's a deep question. A deep question for Friday.
No, yes, absolutely. Dreams, my opinion or my knowledge of what dreams are is kind of like they are recycled mashup of some of the stuff that your conscious days and life stores, and then in the dream state they kind of mishmash into one another. But who cares about the scientific bit? I think the more important thing is like, you got those scenarios that are very absurd. I actually, one of the things I really like about dreams is the messing up with the transitions between things. There's something I quite like about I was in the classroom and then I'm cut to I'm now a child in sort of a train, so the events jump uniformly and so I like that very much. I've always been interested in that in art. I've never really felt I like even in theater they do it often where you kind of go act to act and from setup to setup, and you don't have to sort of transition from one to the other kind of so I like that in dreams a lot. I also like the symbolism. Like, a lot of times my grandma used to be, when you dream about something, used to go to my grandma and they, ask her, I dreamt about that. And she's like, was there a dog? And you're like, yes, there was a dog. And she's like, oh, man, that's... and it's like, what's going on? And she had, her old not rumor, what's the word? Like, folklore things that you kind of accumulate. And they're symbolisms, basically. If your teeth fall in a dream, that means that you're going to, And I love symbolism very much. So dreams have always conjured a very they encourage symbolism and that kind of thinking in art, which I really like. I also like surrealism. Like people like Dali were very much into, okay, the clocks are now melting, the bending the forces of nature in ways that are what I'm just, sorry to change subject, this is quite a nice move where you do put one artificial light in the middle of something and you straight away get intrigue. It's like oh yeah, because the whole thing is bluish and the natural light, so I put an artificial light behind there, and suddenly like we have a story. Like it's like what is causing that? Like, you look at that shot and not only it helps the sculpture because rim lighting helps us see the form better, but also the fact that it's a warm light against the cold gives us a complementary color as well. So you're kind of going, I'm double whammy here, where I am using some of these color theory things to my advantage to present the tree a bit nicer, but also to do a bit of a focal point. Now, if we had a character standing there, even, I don't know, like what do we have in our MM1s? They're all very cute, but, fine. We are expanding our lists of kids and stuff, But as soon as you have a character now in that situation, then you start having a little story going on. You kind of go, okay, and let's put the character where the warm light is, or it's like the character sees something that we can't see as well. It's like, is that a flame? Are they about to bury something, or have they found the treasure, or what is going on here? So that makes your scene depart from being a sculpture to becoming a set design. And lighting is the transition between form and mood needs a story. So I quickly for the query of our the person who asked, is like I had to invent some rules. I was like, okay, there is the blue moonlight is my main light. I'll put the sun there, and then I'll add some artificial extra ones to assist the sort of main light and pick some. It's like if my main moon is from here, but I would have loved the moon to catch this rock as well. Fine, I'll just put an extra light here to a lot of movie directors go, I need to see this rock on the left there, but then that's a bit too much. So you kind of go, okay, I want to pick it up, but I'll weaken it a bit so it's not like too much. I just need to pick it up, while I want to strengthen that light on the middle of the tree. That's like more, we need more drama there, and it's like my focal point. And this warm one is the storytelling light, so it needs to be sort of like intense and badass. It can't be neither here or there. It's like, do you want it or not? Like it's a good habit as well in these kind of decisions to never kind of go, I'll have it but not have it kind of thing. It's sort of, is it playing a part? If it's not playing a part, kill it, basically. And the last thing we do in the scene as well to sort of frame it, some camera. I like, actually, see, let's have a look at the camera again, angle. I feel I need to see some intrigue happening over there. So let me take this warm light and stick it over there again inside the fog, but coming sort of, that's kind of like painting with light now, sort of thing. You just go, okay, look, what's that look like? Interesting. Not as cool as I hoped, but then okay, let's change it into another player. Is there another player? So I've got cold and I've got warm already. So what's left? Something in between. So a purple in the back. Yeah, that's nicer. So it doesn't compete with my main orange hero, but it's sort of giving me there is more to this world kind of thing, you know. There is more to this world. This world is not only about that tree. There's this something, but it's way more secondary than the primary vibes that are going over here. In fact, I'll even increase the primariness by intensifying the contrast of the color here. That's too evil now. Back again. So that's the kind of thought process that goes on in one's mind when trying to light up a tree. And I would maybe stop here. I hope we didn't destroy your brains with the constant rambling.
No, I definitely not. It's always amazing to hear you speak, Kareem.
Wait, I'm going to come back. Yes.
Are you going to come back into see Kareem's face?
Hello.
That was awesome.
Cool.
That was so cool. That was such a good stream. Thank you so much for doing that. Everyone loved it. Awesome. In fact, some of the questions you answered are incredible.
Thank you, Tom, again, and Abby and Jamie for doing such an incredible Gamescom. We're all so excited. Media Molecule is gushing with excitement, and we can't wait till we do more and more and more of these wonderful experiences and events in Dream. I'm so happy that you invited me to be part of it.
Oh, thank you so much for being part of it. It's been an awesome week. If you've missed out on any of the stuff this week, you can catch up on our social channels, you can catch up on our YouTube channel, you can catch up here on Twitch. We've had a bunch of streams starting on Tuesday, obviously with our showcase. Then we had John Beach come in. We've had Claire and Pablo do animating, and it's been amazing. So thank you to everyone that's watched. We will be back next week with our normal streams. Starting on Tuesday, Ed and Ollie are going to do their showcase of the new instruments that they've been working on. We had originally got that planned to happen on Wednesday, but unfortunately we ran into some technical issues. And then we will be back on Thursday for our normal Thursday Creations stream. In the meantime, the show floor for DreamsCom is very much open. You can go and find it in the game. There's now a floor guide that Miguel has been amazingly working on this week, so you can find that on our social media and see if you can spot your booth, find out where it is. It gives you a guide to everything that's been that's on the show floor. Let us know if you are there. Send us pictures at MediaMolecule on Twitter. Tag it with DreamsCom20. It's been awesome to see all your pictures. So thank you very much to everyone who's supported. DreamsCom has been awesome. This was an event for you, to celebrate you and all the amazing work that you do in Dreams. So thank you very much. Thank you, Kareem, for this stream.
Thank
Kareem,
you.
it's all down to you to end it. You need to end it.
Okay. So I'm just gonna say goodbye, and we are very grateful to have Dream is nothing without its community of beautiful and wonderfully imaginative, different and diverse, lovely set of people. Thank you very much for making it all worthwhile.
Thank you so much, everyone. All right. Kareem, do you know how to end the stream?
No, tell me.
So, right, everyone, you're going to see us live finish this. If you press the share button on your controller, Kareem.
Yes. Yes. There we go. Bye-bye.